y'all world. That's my thing. That's my introduction. This feels so funky. I ain't done this in a minute with a new show and a different title on the back. Don't worry. They still rocking with that soon. But today's show, the podcast that I wanted to begin was Between the Blurred Lines. I think a lot of times that there's conversations that we hold in spaces that, it's just different things we don't touch on. And I have a very special guest to touch on a very special topic with me today. But before that, before I introduce it, before I say the topic, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. So today's topic I got is the difference of speaking from acceptance and speaking from emotion. I think a lot of people really need to learn the difference and how that process really looks. So my special guest that I do have on join me today to kind of hit on this topic is the one and only beautiful, wonderful, spontaneous woman that I can actually bring in the building with me. None other than Shani V. Go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Shani V. I am a sex coach. I do focus on chakras. I have a chakra course out right now. And I am a licensed esthetician. I do have a lash course coming out that will be online, so you can tap in from anywhere. Get your coins up. That's the whole point of the game. But if you need some sex coaching, come tap in with me. And thank you, Alex, for having me on, because you always hold us amazing spaces.
I appreciate it. This was a topic that I really knew that you'll be suited for. You know what I mean? Especially practicing chakra, practicing the balance, good energy, because that's what we need at the end of the day, that positivity, energy, that good balance in mental space, right? So I want to sit here and say, when I heard about the difference about speaking from acceptance and speaking from emotion, things that I see and I witness from other individuals, most of us don't know how to speak from acceptance and how that process looks. We instantly react strictly from emotion, and the emotions ends up putting us into a situation we later regret. I don't know what kind of steps you take or what kind of steps you see out there. Myself, I'm going to touch on them a little bit, especially noticing the differences of it, especially how people react, and one thing they mainly need to me in that process. I'm going to just say it. Me, I think it's patience. If you're going to, before you react, from your emotions, you want to process the information and have the patience at the end of the day to understand what's being said. But I don't know.
Patience, have the understanding, but also know where you're at and understanding your feelings. Because if you can understand your feelings, then you can really understand whether you're speaking from emotion or from acceptance.
So when you say speaking from either emotion or acceptance, what does that process look like for you?
For me, when I'm first speaking through emotions, I might get wild and crazy and in somebody's face. I might be speaking from my ego at times. I'm speaking with emotion. When I speak from acceptance, there's never any yelling. There's never any arguments. It's more so a calm, this is what it is. And this is what I have accepted to be. So I now have to navigate that space. And just the other day, I literally wrote a poem for both of my ex-partners. And I said it to one of them. The other one, people have to wait. But that's what the speaking from acceptance looks like for me, because it's I wasn't yelling. I understood my flaws and what I did. And but emotions, listen, that's why they won't speak to me right now, because my emotions, when they come out, I might be sweet and nice right now, but honey.
and that's one thing. That's one thing I see with a lot of people. And we're human, and I get that. And it's to understand that process of how that looks for us and really understand ourselves. Because initially, I don't think really anything's really taught to learn how to be patient enough or take that pause before you react, and really still process the information of what's going on and just want to respond and just hit everybody kind of where, feel my pain. You're going to feel my pain at that moment. And that's us speaking and moving in an emotional way and not realizing that causes more damage down the line.
So much more damage. And on top of that, you're speaking and you want to be heard. And in that point, when you're speaking from emotions, you're not even taking into account anyone else's emotions, anyone else's perspective. You're really just wanting to be heard on your perspective and your emotions. And usually it's not nice.
At all. Why do you think, especially in relationships, right? Where do you think this behavior is taught from? Why do you think
this behavior is 100% comes from childhood and the trauma that comes with being raised, and even some adulthood if you're further along. but not acknowledging that trauma. And it can be as simple as your mother didn't hold you as much as a baby. It could be as simple as my mother told me as a baby. It could be simple as they yelled too much in the household. It could be, there's a lot of different things that can sit here and feed into that childhood trauma that honestly, we can sit here and go through and learn from and heal from if we want to sit here and see our bad parts. We don't want to, some people don't want to acknowledge they're wrong, they're bad, any of that.
Definitely, I agree. That's a part that we have to really take, because I know it's going to happen naturally, especially since this is stuff from our childhood, that we have to reflect on ourselves during that situation. Of course, how we handle the situation, because we're driven on the emotion, and how to actually really take that moment of pause and process the information before actually just spilling anything out. I think acceptance for me, when I started moving in more of an accepting way, it did take me pausing, and it almost looked like I was shutting down within conflict, like when we have conflict or debates. I want to call them debates. You know, at those moments, disagreements, I started, but it was me not shutting down. It was me pausing to understand the information. So I made sure whatever was going to come out next, I understood it, I seen it clearly, and then I stated it in an accepting way that's saying, hey, I understand this. I'm going to move in this way, in this fashion if needed, or I disagree with this, or I understand what's going on there, but I took it in a different format I wasn't going to approach it with, in an aggressive manner, or just in a way to be spiteful, or just try to be heard or anything like that. It took that moment of pause, that moment like, let me be patient with this. Let me understand what's going on. The moment that we don't, and we stay driven behind emotion, speaking on emotion, that we're always going to continue a cycle of toxicity that's going to put us in a position that's going to always be chaotic within our relationships.
And sometimes when you think that the other person's gaslighting, it could just be you. Not you specifically, Alex, talk about in general. Like,
break that down. Break that down. We got to break that down, though.
Okay, so for me, I always thought that they were gaslighting. But gaslighting is not letting people sit here and feel their emotions and telling them that they're wrong. Sometimes, okay, so I know I always thought that they were the ones gaslighting me. Now taking this time and this space of healing, I realized that I did do a lot of the gaslighting. At times, it was when I just wanted to be heard. I didn't take into account anybody else's feelings or anything like that. And I literally was just like, why aren't you worried about my feelings? Why aren't you sitting here worried about me? And it's not taking into account anybody else's time, what they're going through, their perspective, and making it all about you sometimes. It's not your world. We might want to think it is our world, don't get me wrong. But when you're in a relationship, it's a shared world. Yes, you have your own perspective, your own views, your own values and stuff. First of all, your values should align if you're in a relationship. But your perspective is still going to be different because we all went through different childhood traumas, different childhood upbringings, different things that even in our adult life that we went through that we did not get a chance to heal from. And a lot of people through their 20s, at least, they might start their healing. Some people don't even heal at all. And with age is just a number. That's it. I feel like when you've healed, that's where you should be aging, like aging as you heal, because that's when the true beauty behind it comes in.
No, and I love that you touch on the perspective point too, because I think I always say this one saying. I always say there could be 10 people in the room with 10 different perspectives, and all 10 of them are right. They're all right. You know what I mean? It takes really time to actually go through the information, navigate it, and see where everybody kind of looked at it kind of wrong and try to correct the whole, flow of what happened at that moment with the situation. But it's really to hear each other out, understand, take the information in, and process it. Have the patience to process it to gain the clarity that's needed to say, oh, man, you know what? I misunderstood. It was a slip up, and we can always kind of see our areas where we need to correct them. Because, again, 10 different people in the room with 10 different perspectives, all of them are right. Ain't nobody really wrong until we get down to actually discuss, have that conversation.
Yep. And sometimes you have to have that conversation, and after you've already did the time away, like how you said that you took that time of silence. You need that. I wish I took the time of silence before saying just fuck y'all, I'm not out of here. Bye.
But that has to be top, right? You know what I mean? That has to be top, because at the end of the day, we're instantly going to maneuver how we handled every other situation until we hit that moment of realizing and being self-aware. This is not the way I want to be seen, not the way I want to handle these situations. And I need to figure out what's going on with me to maneuver different in a better manner. Until we do that for ourselves, we're always going to do the same thing. We're always going to be stuck in that cycle. And that's why I really wanted to kind of discuss is at the end of the day, when we discuss what may be going on and why are we getting the same chaotic moments or the same results that are not helping our situation, we're trying to work on our relationship. It may be at the end of the day, we're being driven and speaking from emotion, saying things that we really don't mean at the end of the day that's causing more conflict within our situation. Maybe we need to learn to have the patience to sit there and just reverse back, take that moment of pause to gain the clarity we need to understand what we're really looking for, and then speak from acceptance when we come to that situation with our partners and sit there and say, yo, this is what it is. So maybe now you can understand me from this perspective and from this point, and then we can hash out our issues and work through our problems together.
Yes, yes. And it's not as easy as saying, okay, well, like, this is what it is. It's like, okay, this might be what it is, but that person might not want to talk at this time. And that person might want to talk right then. And I mean, I'm talking for like most people in a relationship. That person might want to talk like at this moment, and really just realizing that, okay, we can put a time limit on it, maybe a day, 2 days, 3 days. And sometimes it'll be longer than that, depending on how the volume is. But saying, okay, in 30 minutes, we'll talk about this, or an hour, or however long it takes, because every situation is different and every obstacle is different. But putting a time on it and saying, okay, we're going to speak about it here. Here's some time to really think about it by yourself, without anybody saying anything to you, without you sitting here and being pressured about anything. And also, when we are not feeling our best and we spew words to our partners and it's hateful or hurtful, they cannot erase those words. So it's very hard to sit there and love someone when you've heard a whole bunch of shit come out their mouth that had nothing positive to say. Even if you were angry in that moment when you were saying it, take the time to say, you know what? I would rather walk away with my head up high and not demean somebody and talk down to them than to sit here and say everything under the sun and all the words in the book, and then they feel like shit. And when you realize that you didn't even mean half the shit you said, it's like, well, it was already said.
Facts. I love that. I want to thank you so much for coming on and touching on it lightly. You know, like I said, I'm trying to keep these short and simple, but very informative at the end of the day. Hit it from two different perspectives. And I think you hit on a couple of things. I love that. I don't know if you want to say any final words before we go.
Thank you. Thank you for holding the space. Thank you for including me. And I appreciate you, Alex. And follow me, Shani B, on all platforms. Tap in.
And definitely, we're going to continue to have you back on because we got a whole bunch of different topics to keep touching on. So remember, when you're coming to a situation at the end of the day, there is a very big difference when you're speaking from emotion and speaking from acceptance. And in between that whole process is patience and trying to understand and gain the clarity before you approach the situation to try to get things mended with your partners. But with that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video and tap in. This was just another episode of Between the Blurred Lines. Much love.
Peace.